tomatoes have been growing for under 4 weeks. We planted them on Memorial Weekend and it's now June 20th and they're already about 4 to 6 inches tall and ready for transplanting. They're doing great, but they need room to grow. So I'm going to share with you my foolproof method for transplanting tomatoes so that they don't go into shock, that they will start to thrive from the moment they hit that new territory. So follow me there and I'll show you the secret. I like the tomatoes to be really well watered so that they're not dry and thirsty when they get transplanted. So before I dig them up, we're going to come over to their new home and dig a hole for them. This soil has been beautifully prepared, but it's not wet yet, so we're going to do this. We're going to dig a nice hole, deeper than you think it needs to be for a small tomato plant. So this is really pretty deep. It's about 8-10 inches deep. And the reason why I make it so deep is because I want it to be really a wet environment when that tomato hits its new home. So I'm going to set this hose to stay on. And I'm going to leave it bubbling like that in the hole, so that water is going to really penetrate the dirt all around it. Okay, that looks nice and full. So while the water's still in there, we're going to go dig up the tomato. We've got a dozen varieties of tomatoes growing in here, and some of them are good for tomato paste, others are for slicing, others are for salad. So I'm going to look for the ones that really need to be transplanted soon, that are tallest and healthy looking. This is actually a new variety for us this year. We got the seeds from a friend. They're called hillbilly potato leaf tomatoes, and they do look a bit like potato leaves, and we have potatoes growing in other parts of the garden, so it's important not to confuse them. They're also an heirloom, so I'll be able to save the seeds if we like them. And these two plants have grown very close together, so I'm going to dig them both out and put my tool in really deep here. You see there's 4 tomatoes that came loose, so very carefully I'm going to slide these 2 out, tuck these guys back in again, and separate them, but try to keep the roots intact. And we'll just poke this guy right back in for a little while because I don't want him to go into shock. And here's the tomato that we're going to transplant. And it's ready for its permanent summer home. And as you can see, the water is still high up in the hole. We put that tomato, it doesn't have to hit the ground right now. I'm going to hold it up to about where I want the dirt to come, and I start filling it in. And it gets a nice soupy mix. Push it down a little bit, not too much, and I do like to plant them a little bit deeper than where the root was, where they came out of the ground. Tomatoes will grow new roots from the stem, so this will make it nice and strong and sturdy. We can add a little more water to the top. I see a nice earthworm wiggling around in there. It's going to keep that soil nice and aerated for the tomato. But that ground now is totally saturated. The roots of this plant were out of the ground for maybe 15-20 seconds, and even on a hot day, this plant will not go into shock. So please try it yourself. It's my foolproof tomato transplanting method. It's been 48 hours since we transplanted our baby tomato plants, and I decided to try an experiment. It's been a hot and sunny couple of days, no rain, and I didn't water them because I wanted to see how well the soil would retain moisture around the roots of the tomatoes. And you can see these dark areas in the ground. That means that the soil is wet really deep down into those holes that we dug, and it's bathing the roots in the moisture that they need to adjust to their new location. There's been no wilting of leaves, no falling off. Everything's perky, they're not droopy. So I think this has been a really successful experiment, and I'd love to hear if you try it at home how it works for you. Let me know.